Hey everyone, welcome back to Critical Hit Reviews, where we don't pull any punches. Today, we're looking at the latest archival drop, NBA 2K26. It's the next annual installment in the series, boasting flashy visuals, new mechanics, and promises of smoother gameplay. But is it just another polished veneer over the same old issues? Over the course of the next 15 minutes, I'm cutting through the hype to explore what's wrong with this game. From its painfully grindy VC system and microtransaction addiction to gameplay flaws, balancing issues, and online nightmares. So grab your sneakers and let's get real about NBA 2K26. Spoiler alert, it's not as slam dunk as the trailers make it look. Let's start with the elephant on the court, virtual currency. As with past entries, NBA 2K26 remains deeply entrenched in pay-to-win systems. Earning VC through grinding is painfully slow, but of course, you can pay to fast-track your progress. On top of that, modes like MyTeam and MyCareer heavily nudge players towards spending real money for even a chance at keeping up. One reviewer bluntly put it, the in-game economy feels a little off. A user expressed frustration echoes across Reddit and critical commentary. The game is just inextricably merged with absurd levels of monetization. All it costs to beat their predatory monetization was $80 and 200 hours clocked. The no-spend challenge trend only underscores how unavoidable financial sinkholes have become. Even attempting to resist the monetization becomes part of the spectacle. On the surface, NBA 2K26 boasts improvements, the ProPLAY motion engine, faster pace, and rhythmic shooting mechanics that the developers say are more in the player's control. But dig deeper, and problems resurface. Defensive mechanics are inconsistent. Paint defense feels non-existent. Fading shots are incredibly easy, and stealing often leads to fouls, not clean plays. Even though developers have dialed back last year's notoriously frustrating shot meter, the green or miss mechanic varies wildly in difficulty depending on mode, making some competitive modes feel absurdly strict. Let's talk about MyCareer and the City, the modes that are supposed to be the crown jewels of the NBA 2K series. On paper, they offer endless opportunities, building your own player, living out a story, and competing online in a massive hub world. But in practice, it's the same recycled, bloated mess we've seen year after year. First, the storylines in MyCareer are paper-thin. Instead of meaningful narratives or character development, you get shallow cutscenes that feel like they were churned out just to justify grinding your build. Dialogue is stiff, side characters are forgettable, and once again, it feels like you're playing through an advertisement for VC instead of a compelling journey. Then there's the City. Yes, it looks huge and shiny, but it's bloated to the point of absurdity. Running around to find courts or shops takes forever, and instead of feeling like an immersive basketball community, it feels like a clunky open world built for microtransactions. Every shop is basically just a VC sink, whether it's cosmetics, animations, or gear. And here's the kicker, if you don't spend money to upgrade your player right out of the gate, you'll get destroyed in the City. New players, or those who tried to grind it out naturally, become punching bags for those who dropped $50 on day one. That's not competition, that's just a paywall disguised as progression. Now let's zoom out and talk about the real issue, the yearly release model. NBA 2K26 is proof that the series has fallen into the same trap as so many annual sports titles. Instead of focusing on innovation, it's about iteration, tiny tweaks that are hyped up as groundbreaking, but don't change the fact that we're essentially buying the same game with a new number slapped on the cover. Think about it. ProPLAY animations. They're smoother, sure, but at the end of the day, how much does it actually change the gameplay loop? New shooting mechanics. Okay, but are they really revolutionary? Or just another adjustment to make last year's system feel obsolete? Worse, progress doesn't carry over. Every single year, your carefully crafted MyPlayer gets thrown in the trash, and you're asked to start all over again, grinding, buying VC, chasing the same upgrades. It's an endless treadmill designed not to improve your experience, but to reset your wallet. This yearly churn also stifles creativity. Instead of bold new features or a massive overhaul every few years, we get safe, incremental changes. The developers are clearly capable of doing more, but why would they? When players keep buying the same package annually. Until that cycle breaks, NBA 2K will always prioritize monetization over meaningful innovation. Now, I'll give credit where it's due. NBA 2K26 looks amazing on the surface. Player models are detailed, arenas pop with atmosphere, and sweat tech has never been shinier. But the problem is, graphics aren't gameplay, and 2K knows they can lean on visuals to distract from bigger flaws. The broadcast-style presentation is almost too polished, like it's trying to mimic watching a real NBA game. But here's the catch: when the gameplay itself feels inconsistent, all that glitz is just window dressing. Fancy pre-game intros and celebrity cameos don't matter when you're still dealing with lag, broken animations, and pay-to-win progression. Worse, some details still feel off. Animations can look robotic when they chain together incorrectly, crowd reactions sometimes don't match the moment, and players occasionally clip through each other. It's jarring when a dunk looks gorgeous in slow motion, but then a defender teleports 2 feet to block you in real time. At this point, the presentation feels like a magician's trick. The developers keep adding shine and spectacle, but underneath, the same structural issues remain untouched. It's like repainting a crumbling house. Sure, it looks nice from the street, but step inside and you see the cracks everywhere. We've got to talk about something that never seems to improve with this franchise: bugs and glitches. For a game that sells millions of copies every single year, you'd think NBA 2K26 would feel polished on launch day. But instead, players are greeted with the usual suspects: clipping animations, weird physics, invisible players, and outright crashes. Some players have even reported getting kicked out of games mid-match because of server dessings, which is infuriating when you're trying to play competitively. Animations are a big culprit. Sometimes your player gets locked into canned sequences that you can't break out of, leading to lost possessions or uncontested points. Other times, the ball will literally pass through a defender's hand as if they don't exist. It's like the rules of physics are optional, depending on what the game's engine decides in the moment. The MyCareer cutscenes are another headache. Characters bug out, voice lines desync, and models occasionally freeze in T-pose during supposed dramatic moments. It's hard to take the story seriously when your agent looks like a broken mannequin mid-conversation. Then there's the online side. Lag already makes the game unstable, but add on top of that visual bugs like players teleporting across the court, the scoreboard freezing, or even getting stuck on the loading screen after matchmaking, and it feels like you're paying full price for a beta test. These aren't nitpicks either. They affect the core gameplay loop. When the difference between winning and losing often comes down to razor-thin margins, a single glitch can ruin the entire experience. And what makes it sting even more is that these issues aren't new. They've been around for years, carried over from one installment to the next, never fully fixed. The reality is that yearly sports games don't leave enough breathing room for real QA testing. The developers are stuck on a hamster wheel, pushing out the next installment before the last one is even properly patched. So the same bugs keep resurfacing, like a bad case of deja vu. At this point, it almost feels like the 2K community is beta testing the game for the developers, except instead of getting paid to find the bugs, players are paying them. And that's where the frustration really boils over. We're not just buying a game, we're buying a broken product that we know will only maybe get fixed after several patches. That's not premium entertainment. That's a cycle of lowered expectations. For many players, online play is where the game unravels. Lag remains a major issue, with examples of input delays, rubber banding, freezing, and desyncs ruining what should have been fluid matches. This is more than frustrating. It actively undermines competitive integrity and makes pressing the shoot button less about skill and more about whether your connection holds up. Yes, NBA 2K26 has packed in modes: MyCareer MyTeam, now featuring WNBA, and the city, among others. But there are balancing quirks. The inclusion of WNBA players, while historically exciting, has sparked complaints about scale mismatch, where towering players dominate and smaller players feel mismatched. Offline modes like MyGM and MyCareer show depth, but they're feeling more like checkboxes rather than transformative improvements, especially for solo players who, once again, are clearly the less prioritized audience. Plus, grind mechanics like cap breakers create FOMO. Players who spend or grind more get ahead, while others watch progress evaporate year after year. Critics have largely given NBA 2K26 positive reviews. Metacritic shows a score of around 83, with mostly favorable critic reception. Many call the visual stunning, gameplay smooth, and content abundant. But user reception is lukewarm. Metacritic user score sits around 5.6/10, a sign of real dissatisfaction from the gaming community. Here's the brutal truth. NBA 2K26 looks slick and has some muscle behind its animations, but it's still the same old treadmill of grind and paywalls. Every step forward in visuals or mechanics is offset by regressions in economy, balance, and technical reliability. Healthcare for gameplay is being sacrificed at the altar of monetization. If you're investing time, it's in service of a system rigged against slow progress, unless you're paying in cash. And that's my take. NBA 2K26 is a game that looks far better than it plays and costs a lot more than it should. Sure, the new engine brings smoother animations, and the mode selection is vast, but you're still jumping through hoops of paywalls, lag, and questionable balancing just to keep up the illusion of progress. If you're a casual player who doesn't mind spending, and maybe just loves the spectacle, this game might still entertain. But if you're tired of microtransactions running the show, and grindy VC economies turning sports into spreadsheets, you'll find NBA 2K26 more frustrating than fun. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you pumped for this one? Or are you fed up with this series' yearly pitfalls? Hit subscribe if you want more brutally honest takes. This was Critical Hit Reviews. Game responsibly, and I'll catch you next time.